Hey, what's up, Mixer? Welcome to episode 2, where we're gonna go over our draft recap and week 1 preview. So let's get straight into it. Draft night, best night of the year. Crazy stuff happens right off the bat. Danny shows up late. Everybody thinks we have insider information on who he's gonna take, and then Danny puts the all-time swerve on us by going with David Johnson instead of Antonio Brown. So fake news hits the mixer. Very interesting that Danny said that he was able to fool Jeff, who apparently spread the rumor to everyone, by simply not denying that he was going to take Antonio Brown when Jeff predicted that he would. So kind of says a lot about all of us that we were able to be tricked so easily when that's all it took. Nobody did any fact checking, nobody did any further probing. We all just kind of went with it, and a few people's draft boards were probably screwed up because of it. No more than Jeff's. So at least he got what seems to be the raw end of it. But I mean, by raw end I mean he got Le'Veon Bell instead of David Johnson, which is, I mean, some people's ranks might be a better pick. So in the end, not really too huge of a thing, but it certainly caused some drama in the room, and was probably the top moment of the draft right off the top. And just the way that Danny made the pick, just kind of looked up, took stock of the room, played it casual like it was nothing, and everybody else's jaw was dropped, and Jeff was silent on the video call. Great stuff, Danny. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing that. Another interesting thing that happened in round 1 was AB. AB's back home. Made me sleep easy that night, knowing that I believe this is the 4th year straight I got AB on my team. So it's my comfort blanket, my safety net. Good things are gonna happen this year. It's always a fun ride at 3rd place with AB on my team. Other topics of the draft. Well, might as well stick with Jeff. He had an interesting strategy. I believe he went 4 running backs to start off, before following it up with, I don't even think he went wide receiver after that. I think he took another position. I'm not exactly sure, but just an interesting strategy, because I don't know, he might be playing some mind games on us. He might have he's been tricking me by sending me screenshots of all his MFL 10 teams, and they're all 0 RB teams, just wide receiver heavy, and then picking up the random pass catching backs, which is kind of what his strategy's been the past few years. This year he just completely 180s, drafts a whole bunch of running backs, the most fragile position, so I'm sure you'll probably get at least half of them to stay healthy. So good job. And then fades tight end until his very last pick, and then picks Luke Wilson, I believe it's Detroit's tight end. Okay, I mean, now you gotta hang on to him. You can't drop him. You kind of planted your flag there. It'd just be a real shame if you had to drop him after week 1, or even before week 1, because then it looks like you didn't know what you were doing, and that's just more ammo for the rest of us to feel good about ourselves. And the last thing Jeff wants is for any of us to feel good about ourselves. So yeah, to own the mixer, you got to hold on to Luke, not Owen, Wilson for the remainder of the season. The steal of the draft, I think, was Blake Bortles to Anthony in round 14. I think I didn't take a picture, but looking at the draft recap on the league website, it says week 14, or says round 14. Not sure if he actually lasted that long. I know sometime, like I saw my defense I selected, it said it was in the last round, but I think I took them in round 14. So towards the end, with Anthony filling out the teams, it might not be accurate, but I do know that Blake Bortles went pretty damn late and was one of the last quarterbacks off the board. Say what you will about Blake Bortles, which is kind of code for people say that he's shitty, but I like him. Never thought I'd say that. He does put up fantasy points more than anything. He makes some bad decisions. The good thing about the Jaguars now, though, is that Bortles isn't really put in those positions as much. They got good defense, and they got Fournette able to pound the rock. So Bortles, they don't have to rely on Bortles as much to make, to lead the offense, to carry so much of the load. He can play a little more patient, not have to force things as much, maybe not turn the ball over as much, and he's still capable of putting up a lot of points, which he's done in the past, or at least competitive points in a 2 QB league, enough to be relevant. So for waiting that long to get a decent QB2 was smart. It allowed Anthony to stock up on other positions. The worst pick of the draft, aside from that, well, you can't really say Jeff's pick of that no-name tight end was the worst pick of the draft, because it was just, second to last pick, and he's free to use any other tight end off of waivers if he's a coward and doesn't want to stick to his guns and stick with that guy. But anyway, you can't really call that the worst pick in the draft, because he didn't really give up much to get him. So I thought the worst pick of the draft, unfortunately, was by Danny, round 11, taking Jameis Winston, who's not going to play for the first few weeks. And additionally, Danny drafted Wentz, who's also not going to play at least week 1, who might be out even longer. We don't know. We don't know at this point. Hopefully it doesn't turn into an Andrew Luck type deal where it's just like week after week after week. At least not for Danny, where he's just inactive. I think Wentz will be back, maybe not week 2. I'm thinking week 3 or 4, depending on how Foles does. I mean, Foles might get out there and do great, and they might just wait, let Wentz fully heal, So anyway, that's a risk Danny's taking when there were still pretty good wide receivers and RBs that you can add on your depth. To take a quarterback in round 11 that you can't use for a few weeks when you need another quarterback, it's just not a sound draft move. But Jameis, if Danny does believe in him, he could, if he sees him as a QB1, I can see why he would do that. I personally don't see him as a QB1, so I think it's an investment that I wouldn't want to make, and especially with the team composition. Danny put himself in a tough spot to start off the season. In this close of a league, you need wins, and you need wins early on, so you're not coming from behind. But we all know that Danny's really, really stable and doesn't worry about matchups at all, or records or anything like that. So I'm sure he'll be perfectly calm. He won't tilt at all, and he'll be fine. All right, so that's kind of just the overall general impressions from the draft as a whole. Now I want to kind of get into a team-by-team look at some of the players I like, some of the players I don't like from each roster. First, we'll go with Anthony's team. I'm just going off the way the teams were ordered when I was pulling from the drop-down, writing down my notes. So in no particular order, Anthony's team first. I like Gurley, obviously. That kind of goes without saying. He was my RB1, so to get him at 3, it was a pretty good job. But yeah, I mean, that's more of Danny and Jeff getting it wrong than necessarily Anthony getting it right. But hey, you got the number one guy, in my opinion. You got Tyreek, the freak. Enjoy him. It's gonna be really, really tough to see all the gifts of him scoring ridiculous touchdowns this season without him on my mixer team. And I like the Alex Smith Blake Bortles combo. I feel like if you could like somehow like Super Saiyan fuse these guys together, you could make like the perfect quarterback. You could get the DGAF of Bortles with the like control, precision, intelligence of Alex Smith, and just like smash them together. It'd be unbeatable. And as a 1-2 combo in a 2 QB league, I like that. I like the stability of Smith paired with the I wouldn't necessarily call it upside with Bortles, but I guess the high range of outcomes. I think it's a good combination. I dislike Allen Robinson. I also dislike his nickname that I've been hearing thrown around, AR-15. I mean, I guess that's it's kind of a good nickname for the wrong reasons. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. I hadn't heard it before. But yeah, Robinson, he was, he's good with Bortles, but now he's on a new team. He didn't really do that much last year. He's been kind of dinged up. I don't know. I feel like he might have just been kind of a one-year wonder. Gosh, what was that Tampa Bay receiver's name from years ago? It was like Mike Goodwin or something, or I'm getting it wrong. Anyway, it's kind of reminding me of him because he tore it up one year and then just disappeared. So hopefully, for Anthony's sake, that's not the way he's going. Oh, and speaking of kind of one-year wonders receivers, Sammy Watkins on the same team. So nice. I don't like that combination. Even I know Watkins is probably going to be a bench. It's more like a depth play, but on the same roster as Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins hasn't done anything for a few years. Also, always dinged up. It's just not a player I would want on my team. But I guess they both have high upside, so you can't really dislike it too much. It's just out of the rest of the roster, those are the ones that gave me question marks, and I wouldn't carry on my team. Matt, the champ. I do like Deshaun Watson as a QB. Got him at a pretty good discount compared to where he's been going in most drafts. Lots of drafts I've been doing, he's been going as like the QB4. I've seen him go as the QB2. I believe we might have been pushing double digits when he got Watson. Maybe QB 10-ish. I didn't look at it exactly, but got him at a good price. Love Fournette, first rounder. Gonna love everybody's first rounder pretty much, but yeah, I'm higher on him than most. I like Russell Wilson. It goes without saying. I'm a little worried about Russell Wilson. He had to carry the offense so much last year. I just feel like he might be reaching a burnout stage because of everything he had to do last year, and that offensive line is just shit. I had him as my quarterback last year, and he was just running around like crazy. I mean, he was making plays, but you just wonder how long can you do that? It's not just. It's so chaotic. I just feel like at any moment something could happen. But I do like him on the team. He's one of the highlights on Matt's team. I dislike Golden Tate. I don't know. He's just boring to me. He's the kind of guy. I don't know. He's a high target guy, but some games he only gets like 3 receptions for 20 yards, and that's it. For a high target guy, I don't know. There's something about that dude's game that I don't get. And so I never have him on my teams. I think Matt's rolling with him as his wide receiver 2. It may or may not pay off, but that's a concern for me. And same thing with Tevin Coleman. I think he's actually his RB2, or slotted in as RB2 right now. Tevin Coleman kind of rely on a injury to Devonta Freeman or him being limited. Coleman's okay, but he's just, I don't know. I don't think he's a too special of a talent. I don't think he's capable of being an RB1. Really, he's got kind of a low ceiling. I feel like even if Freeman went out, he'd be like RB15 at his peak, and right now I'd see him as like a late RB, like maybe RB28 or so. So anyway, those are my dislikes for Matt's team. Jess, I like Adam Thielen and I like Zach Ertz. Both solid, both probably going to lead their teams in targets. And yeah, in PPR you need targets, so I like those two. Dislike Amari Cooper, but I can elaborate on that. See Michael Crabtree last year, see Jordan Nelson this year, see Seth Roberts either years. It's going to be another disappointing year for Amari Cooper. And I dislike Rashad Penny. He's just hasn't shown that he's got it. He was listed as Chris Carson backup today, so yeah, sad. Love Penny as like SDSU and everything. He just hasn't shown anything really yet in preseason or training camps based on what we're hearing, and how he did in the preseason games. Danny's team, love David Johnson, love the balls to pick him. Number one, if he's your guy, get him. When a lot of other people were listing Gurley, and a lot of other people would consider AB in a PPR. So, like that. Also like Keenan Allen. He has potential to be a top 30 receiver this year. I could see him passing OBJ, to be honest, easily. Like Baldwin if he's healthy. I like Emmanuel Sanders to lead the Broncos in targets, catches, and touchdowns this year, so that's a good pick. Dislike Jameis Winston, already said. Dislike Wentz right now. I don't know. I think they're gonna have him in bubble wrap for a while to start, and I dislike Pierre Garçon. He hasn't been relevant since the first Obama administration, I feel. Zach's team, I like DeAndre Hopkins. He was my wide receiver 2. So I think he's just gonna take the next level. I think he might challenge AB this year. I think he's gonna elevate even higher, especially with Deshaun Watson there. Like Rivers, I think he's gonna have a good year. They're gonna have to. I feel like they're gonna have to rely on more. Since teams are getting a better read on Melvin Gordon now, I think Rivers is going to have to account for more of the touchdowns. Maybe Mike Williams helps out in that area. Gates is back, so yeah. I like Rivers. I like Crowder if he can. I think he can. This is the year that if Crowder's going to do it, if he's going to be a wide receiver 1, are up there in the conversation, like top 10 wide receiver, top 15, top 20 receiver. He's going to have to do it this year. Alex Smith is good pairing with him. What else? I disliked Josh Gordon. I don't know. It's going to be real sad when we see him working at, I don't want to make it. Well, I'm going to make it anyway. It's going to be real sad when we see him working at Safeway next year to start out the year. Gonna be a real shame. My team, I like everyone. That goes without saying, so no need to go over that. Sean's team, like Devonta Freeman. I like Juju. He's gonna be a future he's gonna be a future Game of Throws team member. And I like Kenny Stills. Good value getting him late. I dislike Devontae Parker. He's just gonna be irrelevant in my opinion. He's just not getting it. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him by the end of the year, to be honest. Jeff's team, I like the size of his balls that he walked in there with to the draft because, man, I don't know. It's just a different strategy, alternative strategy for sure. There's couldn't highlight any player that really stood out to me too much. Jeff's gonna have some work to do, in my opinion, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see. You never know. Nobody wins the draft. Nobody wins the season at the draft. Jake's team, I like the Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt combo. That's going to be a potent RB1, RB2. I like Jimmy Graham as tight end. He should get a lot of touchdowns as long as he's not too old and can do what he did in Seattle. Rodgers will make it work. I just like Chubb. I just like Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, irrelevant rookie running backs that are probably going to be cuttable by week 3. From your fantasy team, and pairing that with second-year wide receivers that are irrelevant. Mike Williams. I did just mention him as a potential option for Rivers, but we'll see. And John Ross also. I don't know. I just feel like these guys you could have just found on the waivers. I would have got somebody a little bit more. I don't know, with a higher floor. Mason. Moving on to Mason's team. Like Landry and I like Diggs. 2 really good receivers. Dislike Royce Freeman. That water bet. And dislike Alshon just because of the injury prognosis to start off the season. So yeah, that wraps up the team by team look at breakdown. Just wanted to get in some quick season predictions. I think on paper right now, I think Matt and Jake's teams look pretty good. They may be among the favorites to take on the Dirk. Really pains me to say since Matt currently has it. My feelings on that. I think Anthony and Sean are kind of the dark horses. Their teams both look really good and have potential. It'll just be a matter of in-season management. So you guys got to keep an eye on waivers and make those trade offers. I think the favorites for the Made Bowl are Jeff and Danny, which would be an epic final for a Made Bowl. So yeah. For their sakes, I hope I'm wrong. For our sakes, I hope I'm right. And so that kind of wraps up this week's. Hopefully we will have some football to talk about next week. Can't wait for week 1. I'm excited. Get your popcorn ready. Let's do it, Mixer. Season's on.